minister. I am the first and only person to have succeeded at getting the N word deleted from a major dictionary, like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I believe and respect. Happy Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. birthday. I come to you with the love of a father, and I ask that you patiently hear me and consider the substance of my message. I have aged in years and in wisdom. I speak to you not as a brother or a son, but as a father. Age turns the wheel of wisdom, and maturity is determined by time. A father looks back and he remembers himself as a child and a dreamer. Every father was first a son, and to his siblings, a brother. A child believes in love and gives love, even if that child is never loved. A child may be born to a luxurious mansion or to a simple house or an apartment or under a bridge. Yet to the baby, the child, each is called home. Each serves as a mold for refuge and security, yet to different degrees. The home of the wealthy child has always offered more. Open doors to knowledge, travel, status, and success than the families just making ends meet, as experienced in the least desirable parts of town. Throughout time, God placed wonderful men and women of great conscience, great compassion, and great desire for equality that fought for every seed of life to have a fertile garden. Now, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. saw the fields, and he saw where black seeds were being thrown. He saw that only weeds are expected to flourish in malnourished conditions. God saw the weakness of man for lust and temptation, and how descendants of Africa were treated in America. He saw excellent black minds with awesome abilities diminish to being maids, yard men, and working in fields. Black youth were taught in schools by loving teachers, but the schools were financially starved and unequipped for the best learning, as did the schools built for whites. Now, Harriet Tubman, Marcus Garvey, Booker T. Washington, Malcolm X, and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., as well as so many other black heroes, voluntarily gave or risked their lives for the sake of a better society for the black child and the overall vision of a more loving society for all. We still await Dr. King's dream that he shared with us. He said, "I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character." He said, "I have a dream today. Consider this. The neglected limb cripples the body and takes away the combined abilities of the whole body. Therefore, we understand the logic that we should treat the neglected limb until it is well. so that we as one body may perform at our best. What did slavery, segregation, and long-time injustice do to the minds of Black America, and how does it connect to today? Well, consider this. A long-time abused wife over time will come to a point of a breakdown or a point of insanity. When we hear of a long-time abused wife committing violence against her husband, the consideration pondered by neighbors, friends, and relatives is not how sad, but why did it take so long? How long can an overfilled balloon keep taking more air before it bursts? How much can you keep packing into a rubber band before it pops? Today, we see by the crime and violence in many young Black Americans the effects of an overfilled balloon that finally burst. The breaking point has arrived. Just like we knew that the heart of the once good and obedient, yet abused wife would eventually turn cold due to the long-time abuse, long-time suffering, and the long-time stress. So it is with many young Black Americans. They have no past history of justice and equality, and is not given a vision into the future of justice and equality. Certainly, some Blacks in America are allowed great wealth, but not all. And there is a glass ceiling for even our wealthiest Blacks in America. The fattening of a few, while the starvation of the rest is not working. Poor Black people are not getting fooled by watching pictures of other Black people eating. We must always show a positive vision to Black youth and show hope for an even playing field in the future. This vision must begin at birth for every Black child, as with every child of every race. We must stop allowing every belief into our schools, but the belief in God. We must demonstrate to our children the unique power of calling on God through group prayer, where 2 or 3 gather, God is in the midst. And let them see for themselves the impact that morning devotion has on youth behavior in deterring anger and youth violence. We must never present ourselves in a vulgar way to our children nor to each other. We must be righteous, yet provide for and defend our children and our families with all our might. Black men, we don't need cowards. We need men with confidence. We must make every neighborhood a great neighborhood to raise youth in, and we must raise every child to become respectable and good scholars. We must love everyone of every race. We must love God. We must not only love ourselves, but we must also learn to forgive ourselves after God has forgiven us. Then we must change, saying no more. Black and white America, Black and white America must finally come to the realization that God brought us into a marriage in which God gave us no option for divorce. We must learn to live together and to love each other on earth before we are fit to enter the loving, and sin-free place of refuge called heaven. We must realize the importance of loving God and the power in reaping what we sow. Giving great love returns great love. How can we justify loving the world or another human being more than we love God? That is like a lamp loving another lamp more than it loves electricity. God is the power source that makes the dead live. We must love God more than all his creations combined. We must realize the important intent of God's second commandment, that we should love each other. There's great power in the second commandment. Consider this: if you truly love someone, you cannot mistreat them. If you cannot rob them, you cannot starve them. You cannot encourage them to join in things that will send them to hell. Obedience of the first and second commandments make it impossible for people to mistreat each other. All of Black America should be joined by all races of America in unity for justice and equality. But first, Black America must learn to work together in unity. Before change is respect for each other. To gain the respect of those that mistreat us and misjudge our greatness, we must work in unity. Most Blacks are discouraged from their great destiny early on in life. If faith can move mountains, then those that compete with you need not physically beat you down, but mentally beat you down, make you lose faith. Peter walked on water until his faith was distracted. Victories are won simply by taking away the opponent's faith. To be respected, Black America, we must first respect each other. We must not enjoy seeing each other down, slandered, or struggling. We must replace hate with help. We must stop calling each other the N word and the H word and the B word. We reap what we sow, people. When we speak power into our youth, power returns. When we speak failure into our youth, failure returns. When we speak positive things into our youth, positive things return. Our actors, comedians, and musicians must realize the concept that we as a people reap what we sow, and we must resist gluttony for few, yet starvation for the rest. We cannot control how the world treats us, but we can control how we treat us. Finally, now more than ever, Black men must be men. We must love and protect our women and our children. When a man is head of the household and in order, his whole house is in order. He is the strong man that God talks about. He is the strong man of his home, and he must forbid evil from entering his home and the minds of his wife and children. When man is out of order, his whole house is out of order. It is written in Matthew 12:29. Or else, how can one enter into a strong man's home and spoil his goods, except first he binds the strong man, and then he will spoil his house? Do not take on the ways of anyone that disrespects God and promotes sin, for they are without God. Yet God is life. So move forward with God and let the dead bury the dead. God is waiting for all races to get it right and love each other. God desires that all of his children of all races turn to righteousness and make it into heaven. God placed us into a marriage in which there is no option for divorce. Thank you very much for listening to my speech. Have a wonderful Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. holiday.